Hi, I'm Christine. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to talk about my favorite books of 2020. The first book I have here is Goddess of the Night by Lynn Ewing. It is the first in her series, Daughters of the Moon. The goddess Selene sent 4 of her daughters to help protect everyone from a great evil called the Atrox. These 4 teenage girls each have a power, and the first book focuses on Vanessa, who can turn invisible. This has been one of my favorite series ever since I was younger, and I still love rereading these books. I used to wish I had the ability to fly. Leave a comment down below if you too used to wish you had an ability. The next book I have here is Just One Damn Thing After Another by Jodi Taylor. It is the first in her series, The Chronicles of St. Mary's. There is a group of historians who work at St. Mary's Institute of Historical Research, time traveling to significant moments in history. They are only supposed to observe and record, not to change anything. They are warned that if they try to interfere, history may step in. This story is a mix of sci-fi, comedy, romance, amongst other things. I got this book as part of a curated book bundle from the last bookstore in LA. I had never heard of this book before, but I fell in love. It made me laugh, it made me cry. I love the characters and reading about their adventures. I'm excited that there are several other books in the series. This was one of the best books I have ever read. The next book I have here is A Gathering of Shadows by V.E. Schwab. It is the second in her series, Shades of Magic. There are 4 parallel Londons. There is Grey London, which has no magic, but people are desperate for a taste of it. There is Red London, where magic is thriving. There is White London, where magic and life are being drained. Then there is Black London, which isn't supposed to exist anymore. Kel is one of the only Antari left, and he is able to travel between the parallel Londons. In the second book, we start out with the aftermath of what occurred in the first book, which I will not go into detail about as that would spoil it. There is a magical elements game in this one that I found very intriguing. I was so drawn into this book by the end that I couldn't believe the cliffhanger ending. I will be looking forward to reading the third and final book in the series. I also want to mention that I love the dedications that V.E. Schwab wrote at the beginning of her books. The next book I have here is Keeper of the Lost Cities by Shannon Messenger. It is the first in a middle grade fantasy series. It follows a girl named Sophie who has the power of telepathy. She always felt so different from everyone else. She finds out that there is a whole other world that she was being kept from. I have also read the second book in her series so far. I find them very comforting. They make me happy. I would have loved to have had this book series to read when I was younger. I discovered this series through the recommendation of Reagan from Peruse Project. I'll leave a link to her channel below. The next book I have here is Serpent and Dove by Shelby Mahurin. It is about a witch and witch hunter who are forced into marriage. I love the characters in this book, and I found myself rooting for the main characters, Lou and Reed. I became so immersed into the story that I couldn't wait to keep reading. Now, I love books, and I love reading, but I don't find myself that often being so drawn into a book that I must keep reading. This book really tugged at my heart. I am happy that there is a second book out now. The next book I have here is Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. It follows a young man named Laszlo Strange, who is a junior librarian. He treasures books, and he has dreamed about the lost city of Weep ever since he was a young child. The legendary Godslayer shows up, and Laszlo is presented with a chance to fulfill his childhood dream. I really enjoyed the different storylines and characters. This book was very mysterious and magical. Laini Taylor brings you right into her created world. I was hooked by the end of the book. Luckily, there's a sequel to this book called The Muse of Nightmares. The next book I have here is House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J. Maas. It is the first in her adult series, Crescent City. Tragedy strikes at the beginning of the book, and the main character Bruce's life is turned upside down. Some time has passed, and Bruce is recruited to work with the fallen angel Hunt Athalar to find out who's responsible for all the gruesome murders happening in the city. This book is full of magic, supernatural creatures, tragedy, and romance. I love the characters, and I felt very connected to the story. I knew I was going to love this book from the first sentence. I had a close friend once who said that she liked to read the first sentence in a book to see if she would like it, and this made me think of her. The last book I have here is Little Princes by Connor Grennan. It is a true story of how Connor Grennan decided to travel around the world, with his first stop being an orphanage in Nepal. He originally decided to volunteer at the orphanage because he thought it would impress people, but he ended up really caring for these kids. He finds out that they're not just orphans but are victims of child trafficking. Connor decides to make it his mission to help reunite these lost children with their families. I love this book so much. I don't read much nonfiction, but this was one of my favorite reads ever. I found myself smiling or wanting to cry throughout the whole book. I became very attached to the story and the people in it. I was so glad to have had the chance to read this book, but was sad when it was over. This story will stay with me for a long time. I want to take a moment to thank my husband for convincing me to start a booktube channel. As he said, I should just go ahead and do this, even if not much came of it, because this would be something fun and new for me. Making videos can be scary, but I love books and I love to talk about books. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Feel free to like, comment, or subscribe. Thanks for watching. Take care of yourselves.